puna.
Spuranti angam puna puna.
Vetaschapi hirdaye.
Vipadusyapi hridaye.
Aradasyanti vipriyam.
Aradasyanti vipriyam. Urvajiva bhumayam. Spurantyanga puna puna. Vipadusyapi hridaye. Aradasyanti vipriyam. Uru, thighs. Akshi, eyes. Bhavo, the arms. Mahyan, in me. Spuyanti, quivering. Angam, left side of the body. Puna puna, again and again. Bepatus, palpitations. Cha, also. Hridaye, in the heart. Arat, due to fearfulness. Dasya Shanti, indicating. Vipriyas, undesirables. Translation. My left part of the body, namely the thighs, eyes, and the arms, all are quivering again and again. There is palpitation of the heart, also due to fearfulness, and as such they indicate undesirable happenings. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The material existence of life is full of undesirables. Things we do not want are forced upon us by some superior energy, and one does not see to these undesirables are under the grip of the three modes of material nature. When a man's left side body, namely the eyes, by the upper lids, the arms and the thighs all quiver constantly, one must know that something is going on to happen which is undesirable. These undesirables are compared with fire in the forest. Nobody goes in the forest for setting fire in it, but by its own interaction of the bamboos, fire automatically takes place in the forest, creating inconceivable calamities for the living being in the forest. Such fire in the forest cannot be extinguished by any humanly efforts by sending fire brigade or similar help for the living beings there. The only means of extinguishing such fire is the mercy of the Lord by sending clouds on the head and pouring water on the forest. Similarly, undesirable happenings in the life of the human beings cannot be checked by any number of plans of the human being. Such miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends His bona fide representatives to enlighten the human beings and thus save them from the calamities of undesirable happenings. Om Agyan Tirinandasya Gyanajana Shalakayam Chakshunam Meritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto His lotus feet. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Hare Krishna. So, Maharaj Yudhishthira was getting signs, getting hints about some calamity. Quivering of the body, left side. This is the indication that something inauspicious is going to happen. It is not that this is some kind of a mythology or some superstition. These things actually, they exist. Because, as I said before, the material nature is a machine. Just like if I press the power button on a computer, the computer will turn on. If I turn off, again, the same thing is going to happen. So, the Vedic scriptures teach us how this material world as a big machine operates. If you know how the material world operates, then you can decrease your misery. You can decrease your misery. This is intelligence. A human intelligence is meant to decrease suffering. Why people go to school? To decrease their suffering, so they can avoid suffering. At one point, some person designed his house. Why? To decrease the suffering, to protect us from the elements, the rain or whatever, scorching heat. Why people invented electricity? To decrease suffering. They can have a facility of working even at night, so they can decrease their suffering. But the suffering in the material world cannot be extinguished completely. That can only be accomplished by spiritual methods. Samsara dava dararira loka tranaya karana ganatvam. The spiritual master is like a rain cloud, just like Srila Prabhupada explains here. If there is a fire in the forest, then your little fire brigade will not help you. In California, they have these big fires on regular basis. Big pieces of woods burns to ashes. And then you can see on the news the firemen with the tiny little hose. Very naive. They think that they're going to extinguish with a little hose, little tiny fireman, little tiny helicopter. And the forest is huge, very big. So that is not possible. They have to wait until the rain cloud extinguishes the fire at once. At once. So similarly, the living entity must wait until it comes in contact with the bona fide representative of Krishna, the spiritual master. Brahmanda, Brahmite, Konya Bhagavan Jiva. Is that? Guru Krishna Prasadi, Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. We've been traveling, not just in this world, through different species of life. Man, animal, man, woman, ugly, beautiful, whatever. But even in the higher planets and the lower planets, they're just like a Ferris wheel. Jai. When we were in Malaga city, you could see the big Ferris wheel, the big wheel, you saw it? So that is our material world. You go up, you enjoy with the apsaras, and then you go down to the hellish world, suffer in hell with Yamaraj. And again, puna. Continuous misery. Until at one point, you meet the bona fide spiritual master, who gives you the bhakti lata bija, the seed of devotional service, the desire. He gives you the seed of desire. It's just like we have gathered here in this temple because we have a desire. It might not be very strong, or it might be strong, but the desire is there. Otherwise, how Prabhupada many times he says, how these young men, young women, they chanting Hare Krishna so enthusiastically day and night. How is it possible? Huh? Can you chant Coca-Cola like them? Go with the drums to the city chanting Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. Huh? Can you worship Coca-Cola with incense every day? That you cannot do. Because there is a higher taste. There's a spiritual pleasure. That is why we're here. We have all felt the transcendental pleasure. Might not be very strong, but it is there. Otherwise, you cannot do this. You see? You cannot do this artificially. So that is because we have met the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master. That is the only reason. We have been so fortunate to come in contact with the great, exalted Vaishnava, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The swan-like. He's like a swan. Swan has the special ability. You mix the milk and water, and the swan drinks, leaves the water there, takes only milk, the good. Similarly, our spiritual master, he takes the good from all of us. Not just good, but the best. He can distill the pure nectar from the living entity. What is that pure nectar? Devotional service. Loving devotional service to Krishna. He can do that by his words. By his words, he penetrates through the layers of upadis. We have so many upadis, so many designations. And he contacts, awakens the spirit soul. And when the spirit soul becomes awakened, then he takes initiative to render service to Krishna. See, it is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's not manipulation. This Hare Krishna chanting is coming from the soul proper. Even this dancing, when people are dancing, don't think that they're making fun. This is a transcendental ecstasy. The soul is being awakened. That is why they dance. The last Sankirtan, when we were outside, I saw this one woman, maybe you saw her also, close to the restaurant on the other side, with her kids and her husband. She was dancing so enthusiastically, like a madman. You have seen? You know that? You have seen that woman? Then Makanchi Prabhu gave her a flyer. You went on the other side. We were coming back to Mercadona. There was this restaurant when the waiters are very favorable. So she was dancing so enthusiastically, like a madman. I was very surprised that like a madman she was dancing. So that is required. We have to become madmen. No, what is a madman? Madman is a person who has no consideration of public relations, public profile. You put on Facebook, you have certain expectations that you will be perceived in a certain way. You want to control how people perceive you. But a madman, no idea, no concern. He does anything, whatever. People laugh, people cry, people are throwing stones at him. He doesn't care. So, that is also explained. Many great devotees are compared to madmen. Shukadeva Goswami is a madman. He's walking naked. Can you imagine someone comes naked here? Yeah. Makanchira has experienced the rainbow naked gatherings. Makanchira was chanting for the naked hippies. Such austerity is undergone. So if someone comes naked here, they will freak out. What is this? Some pervert, some sexual pervert or something. So he was walking naked freely. And he has spoken this Bhagavatam naked. Unbelievable. You said, as you see on the cover, not the, how do you say, the dust. No, it's not the dust. Cover. Dust cover. Yeah, the inside. You see that famous picture. Maharaj Parikshit is kneeling down and Shukara Goswami on the Vyasasana speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam. All the sages are gathered. Srila Vyasadeva was also there. Narada Muni. Atri Muni also was there. Everyone hearing with rapt attention this naked man, Shukara Goswami. So he was not in nonsense. He was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Completely. Samadhi. These great exalted devotees, they don't meditate on Krishna pastimes. They don't meditate. Don't be foolish to think that they meditate on Krishna's pastimes. They are in Krishna's pastimes. They are there. Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya entered the Krishna Lila. He was there. Practically. When we say the holy name and Krishna are non-different, this is not a mythology. This is a fact. When you chant purely, without any offenses, then you are in direct presence of Krishna. Direct presence of Krishna. It is actually an offense to consider the holy name different from Krishna. That is the root of all our problems in spiritual life. We think it is different. It is a representation. It is not very important. It will happen later. Our meeting with Krishna will happen later. It is going on now when you chant the holy name. Prabhupada actually talks about this. Many instances in his books he says, the name of Krishna and Krishna are not different. One should not make any distinction between these two. That's why we should very attentively chant, especially the japa when we chant our 16 rounds. You should be very attentive. Don't distract yourself with anything, especially the iPhone. The great danger of japa. That is finished. As soon as you start playing with the iPhone, that is a great offense. Because you are in the presence of Krishna. If you invite a guest to your house, and then the guest comes, yes, you have invited me, and you sit him down, you please sit down here, and then you carry on as though he didn't exist. Is that very nice? It is a great insult. You yourself, you would feel very bad if you were invited by some person and you would not be taken care of. You would be ignored. That is not very nice. If you're ignored or you don't exist, you're not important. It pinches the heart very much. So, Krishna also, he feels sorry. You have invited me into your beatback. I have come into your beatback. And now you're neglecting me. So we should not be neglectful. Very diligently we should chant. The word diligently, you know what it means? Diligently. Yeah, it's the same thing. Very carefully, with great attention. We're dealing with Krishna. We should also not think of other things while chanting Hare Krishna. Thinking, meditating on sense gratification. Oh, only if I could have this, only if I could have that. These are all material desires. Don't water the material desires. You just hear the holy name. That's how you develop your love for Krishna. Not by meditating on your sense gratification. Committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting Hare Krishna. That offense. Right? Every day we reciting. So we should follow them. Thinking of sinful activities while chanting is as good as committing these sinful activities. Because every action is preceded by mental idea, meditation. You first meditate. Thinking, feeling, willing. Every action goes through these 3 stages. First you think, you have an idea, oh, let me go, let me do this. Then you feel like you're ready to do it. You feel it. And in the end, you actually do it. So this mantra meditation is taking out the roots of that action. You check it at the thinking stage. What is this? What am I thinking? What is this nonsense? Hare Krishna. Like that. You uproot that activity. Otherwise, if you don't uproot, then it will come to feeling and willing. Krishna will give you the opportunity to fulfill whatever desire, whatever nonsense desire you have. You see, so why we're studying this science of Krishna consciousness from the spiritual master. So we have sufficient determination to battle with the mind at that crucial moment. So we have enough strength to say, no, this is nonsense. Don't drag me here into this. It is rubbish. So the spiritual master explains a very complex science of why we should not fall into this trap of material sense gratification. Sometimes you can hear, when you chant japa, you can hear Srila Prabhupada saying, this is nonsense. Oh, we don't do this, or there's such a thing is nonsense. Prabhupada is like I would compare it to a coach when there's a box match where the boxers fighting. The coach is there in the corner with a towel on his neck, and he's encouraging the boxer. Oh, punch him, very good. Yes, don't do this, do that. Kick him like that, whatever. I don't know if they kick in a box. I don't know if that is allowed. So the spiritual master is like a transcendental coach. But we must be familiar with his instructions. Otherwise we will not remember. And it is not that we hear one time. You can even read all of Prabhupada's books one time. But then there is a danger. There's an obstacle. And we think, oh, I have read it. I know it. I already read it. Enough. It's not so easy to read again. One time you can read because there is some novelty. Something new. We want always new. But when you read everything, it's not so easy to read again. Again, I have to hear it. Then you have to assimilate. The more you hear, the more you're forced to execute the orders of the spiritual master. So then the mind freaks out. Oh my God, now again I have to hear this? Yes. That is required. So you can remember the instruction. And if you hear sufficiently, even if you don't remember, the memory will come out from the subconscious. You will hear it at the right moment. Srila Prabhupada will manifest. Chant Hare Krishna at the time of death. If Srila Prabhupada manifests through your memory, and tells you, chant Hare Krishna, it can save you. You can go back home, back to Godhead. So much necessary is this hearing. It is most important. In devotional service, the Shravanam is the most important. Srila Prabhupada explains, if the Shravanam is not properly executed, it is defective, then the chanting will be defective also. The smaranam, the meditation, the thinking will be defective also. The archanam, the worship, will also be defective. Everything defective. So, just consider people who have no access to the bona fide spiritual master. They accept someone bogus. Their whole devotional service is a farce. It's a joke. It's not real. But we should not keep it like that. Oh, I have accepted a bona fide spiritual master. Now my business is finished. Now I take an initiation. So now I can kick back and relax. No. We have to hear that initiation is an entrance into the university of the spiritual master. Just like you go to the university and school. The admission, Prabhupada even said that the admission is simply a formality. You have to get the transcendental knowledge. Now you have to take your lessons. Just like every day we have a lesson, we have a class. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not some kind of a cheap thing that we simply hand out Brahmin threads or hand out spiritual names. It is a serious study. So, this temple is meant for studying Krishna consciousness. While we go collecting donations, just so the Srimad Bhagavatam class can go on. So in this way, if we hear sufficiently, then all our suffering will be ultimately extinguished. All suffering, including birth, death, old age, and disease. Is there such a doctor that he can cure death and birth? Most of the people have no idea. They think that this is all. What is that? Yol. This is all yol. You only live once. They're yolling around here in this life. They have no idea that they will take another birth. It is a lot of suffering. Don't think that, in this life it's not very important, this Krishna consciousness. I will do a little bit only. Krishna didn't make it clear anyway, so I'll just do a little bit, and in my next life then I will do. No, don't think foolishly like that. Being in the womb is a very traumatic experience. A lot of suffering there. Growing up and going to school and being helpless, depending on the mercy of your parents at every step. And the family you take birth in, that you have no control over who it's going to be. You have no control. Just like in that Who's Crazy, that movie. Now you can be born in China. Communism. Or I don't know, somewhere, North Korea. You have seen North Korea? How they live? They don't even have cars. You have to go by walk to your work. If you're tired, then they shoot you. Or you're tired, you cannot go to work. Okay, let's go. Finished. Something like that. I don't know. I was not there yet. Devotees should go there and chant Hare Krishna. So that you have no control. So we should be very serious Don't waste time with prajalpa, mundane talks. Sometimes we have to talk some mundane. That is excused for the service. Sometimes it is required. But only as much as is necessary. Don't indulge in this. Prabhupada, even I was reading you the other day in the 10th canto, it is mentioned in the shloka that hearing about mundane things is the root cause of material existence. Hearing about mundane things. Just like I said before you go to Maya, there is first of all thinking. Then there is feeling. Then there is action. Not that immediately action. So how do you develop this thinking? By hearing. Everything very scientifically explained. Hearing is the root of the desire, whether spiritual or material, doesn't matter. And then there's a chain, how it continues. You hear, then you talk about it, then you think about it. When you think about it, you feel about it, and then you do about it. Very subtle science. And it comes back to chanting our 16 rounds. That must be done to the topmost perfection. And everything flows, everything is wonderful. If you don't chant your rounds properly, then everything is a mess. So take sufficient rest. Don't stay late at night. Just like Makanchur, always staying late at night. Don't do that. Make sure that your japa time, you are rested properly. It is the most important part of the day. Prabhupada says, we have many duties in Krishna consciousness, but we should never be carried away by these duties. The most important duty, the most important instruction of the spiritual master is to finish one's prescribed number of rounds. He says this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is everything. My Gabada was very much emphasizing this to me. He had very painstakingly chastised me for chanting in a nonsense way, eating the parts of the mantra, skipping words like that. He took time to chastise me for this. Also for sleeping during japa, that should not be done. That is very bad. That is, you're killing your spiritual life. If you sleep during the japa, you're killing your bhaktilata bija. It is very serious offense. Very serious offense. It is worse than killing millions of cows. Why? Why is it more serious? Can anyone say? Sleeping during japa, why is it worse than killing millions of cows? Nobody knows.
Because you will fall down and eat cows?
Yes and no. That is also true, but another thing I wanted to hear.
You will not preach?
No.
Yeah.
Because the holy name has the potency to purify more sinful activities than you are able to commit. That is the potency of the holy name. If you chant properly, you're able to purify more sins than you're ever able to commit. You see? But we have to chant properly. Otherwise it's not going to work. So, my Godmother taught me like this, and I've also taught Makanchur and Ramachandra Prabhu and everyone else. So, this is very important. You also teach, if there are some new devotees, like now in America, right? There is this nice devotee. You make this a very important point, that everyone is chanting properly. Of course, hearing also Srila Prabhupada and so on. But ultimately, it is the Hare Krishna movement. So the Hare Krishna chanting is the topmost important. Also the Harinam Sankirtan, street Sankirtan, then you should not neglect. You should take it very seriously. Of course, it is very pleasant. Even the japa, I found it very pleasurable, chanting japa in the morning. But street Sankirtan is a lot of excitement, especially if Ramachandra comes with a nice drum. It's very nice. But don't take it as some kind of a joke. Also, it is very serious. It is the great mission of Lord Chaitanya, and is the only way how the conditioned souls in Kali Yuga can reach perfection. You see? Many times we forget about the holy name. We get sidetracked. So many duties, donations, we have to collect the internet, the Facebook, and this, the page, and web page, and this page. But the holy name is the most important. And you can expand. Not that 16 rounds is the limit. You can go on chanting more. You can do Harinam more chanting. You can never go wrong if you chant more. You can never go wrong. It brings you more and more enlightenment, more and more happiness. To yourself and to the devotees around you also. It is so nice, this chanting. So, I'll stop here. Any questions? What is that?
Yeah. Now, let me organize who I will translate it. Yes. My uncle, she's asking about, not my uncle, but an example like that if somebody has committed so many sinful activities during his life, and at the time of death, he chant Hare Krishna, so he purify all the sinful activities.
Yes.
So, how to say? Why we cannot, when we say Hare Krishna, we chant, why we don't purify all the sinful activities?
We do. I don't understand really the question.
We will skip it because I don't know how to translate.
No. Well, let's clarify. Mataji is asking something that we have to answer. There is the example of a Jamil. You're familiar with a Jamil, the Lila of a Jamil. Atri, you know a Jamil? You don't know? Okay. It was a